Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Living on Lemonade podcast. I hope everyone's doing okay. As always, I'm your host, Lauren. Today's episode, it is podcast day. I was thinking about not putting one out and then just thought, you know what? I think I'll pop on really quickly and record. Um, it's holidays, it's December 23rd today, almost Christmas, and I I just thought I would have a quick message. Hopefully it's actually quick. I always say that, right? But and also I figured someone out there who's listening can probably relate to maybe how I'm feeling. So I thought I would share. I ended my last rotation, what was it, Friday, because I took my last night off and I thought, oh, it'd be nice to have a couple extra days. And I know I'm not the only one when you have like a block of days off that there's could be some motivation and a to-do list. For me, it was like decorate the tree, do the dusting before I could put up the rest of the Christmas decorations because I spent a couple hours not long ago doing the house, but I didn't get to the dusting. I ran out of time and then had to leave and head to my mom's. Um, So it's funny how sometimes when we have like days off, we already have an idea of how they're going to be spent and how good it's going to feel to get, excuse me, a bunch of things off of our checklist. For me, that was like house stuff, catching up on laundry. What else? Also, my craft room where I record my podcast episodes and do my trainings and stuff is a disaster right now. Um, I need to do some cleanup. So I've started to kind of pick away at that a little bit here and there, but it can kind of be one of those things where you start with one thing and then it reminds you of something else and you end up just kind of down the rabbit hole and it's like, what was I doing? I do that sometimes, especially when I've got lots to do. For me, I have to really come back to just like take a few deep breaths and then it's like, okay, what is actually really important? And then it helps me to kind of stay focused. Otherwise, it's easy to jump to a bunch of different things when you have a long to-do list and you want to get it all done. In the same breath, I have been exhausted, and I think that's very common when we've been go, 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 and then we finally have some days off. It seems to be the theme lately for me, as much as I want to be productive and stuff. And sometimes my energy supports it, but sometimes I just want like a quiet, lazy day. And I've had a bit of that. So if you have the ability or the option to I would invite you to strike a balance with those two things and don't be too hard on yourself to like get all the things done. There's some things that just have to be done. I needed to do laundry. There's a couple other things that it's just like I'll just make it. We were watching some Netflix or whatever, just kind of chilling. I like this time of year to be able to sit beside the Christmas tree when it's lit and just kind of like watch movies and such. But there's nothing stopping me from popping in a load of laundry every, hour or so, right? And then pausing it and switching. So it's kind of like you can do those things while enjoying other things as well. Um, and then, yeah, spending a few minutes here and there just kind of tidying up my craft room. And what it really involved is I did a Norwex sale for my network marketing business, so I had everything pulled out of my closet behind here. If you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see me pointing to the backdrop, which is where my closet is. All my Norwex is stored there. So organizing that, and then I thought um I wanted to organize the other side, which has fabric and stuff like that. So I kind of like pulled out a bunch of stuff last night, made a bit of a mess, folded, got some of it organized a little bit and put back, and then I'm just kind of looking at the rest of the chaos. And I know that I have a quilt to work on. All the pieces are cut out. It's the backing is going to be t-shirts. And I think I'm feeling a little bit of resistance just because the last one that I did, although it was beautiful and it was such a privilege to make, they are workhorses. And I did a baby clothes quilt and it was a good size. Um, fulfilling and rewarding when you see it coming together and stuff, but the front end is quite a workhorse to kind of get set up because what you have to do with t-shirt quilts or clothing, because they're different fabrics, different stretches and stuff, you have to iron on a fusible I'm not thinking, I want to say fusible webbing, but there's another word for it that's not coming to me. That's sticky on one side, fusible on one side, just to basically make them all like to stabilize the fabric so that when you sew it together, it's not stretching in weird ways and you have like stable blocks as you would if you were just using all of the same type of fabric. Um, yeah, so I had already done that. I've already like done the hard work, I think, but there's some sort of resistance that's holding me back from like laying the quilt out. My excuse before was, well, I need to vacuum the house. I vacuum the house. So maybe tonight I'll lay it out and kind of get going there. The t-shirts are cutting out the graphics on the t-shirts. There is different sizes and stuff. So I think that's what's throwing my brain off too, because it's not super linear and just like the same size blocks. So I think that's also creating some resistance in getting started because it might be a bit more of a puzzle, right? So anyway, I think yeah, just kind of what's coming to my mind is having this list, and it's even easier if you write it down. I don't really have it written down. I do go through kind of like a mental list, and this is actually a tip if you're having a hard time falling asleep and you have a bunch going on the next day. Either just if you feel up to actually getting up and just writing stuff down, or what I do because I don't want to get up and I just want to be in bed and figure it out. I will in my brain visualize like a to-do list and I'll think about and list in my head, like I'll make a mental list of what I need to do the next day. And then if I'm still not settling down, I will kind of work it out into like what I'll do when, what part of the day, which ones are priorities. It's like, what have I got going on, but what needs to be done? And what's not a big deal if it doesn't get done. Like it's on the list, but it's okay if I don't get it done tomorrow. And that really helps me kind of get to sleep. So if this holiday season you feel like you have an unlimited list, just be mindful of like what really actually has to be done and what can just like what can wait till the next day. Um, Sometimes easier said than done. I know for me, I used to be very like black and white, stark. It all has to be done, and I would be my own kind of worst enemy through some of that in putting a lot of pressure on myself that really wasn't necessary. And at the end of the day, when I started getting curious and practicing just more, giving myself more grace and letting some of the things go, I started to realize like it doesn't all need to be done in a day. The other thing is, what can you delegate? If you have a partner at home, what can they help with? Um, I had the other day, I just had some stuff I just didn't get done before I had to lay down for nights, or actually I had to leave the house. I did head to my mom's, and it was just a quick like, hey, I didn't get this done. This still needs to be done. Throw some instructions, and my husband worked on it that evening for me because it was something that actually couldn't wait till I got home. It was like meat in the fridge that needed to be kind of divided up, put in the freezer, a chicken that needed to be shredded, maybe put in a freezer bag and put in the freezer to make like a stew later, just a couple things like that. And I ran out of time. So it was a quick like, hey, I didn't get to this. I'd really appreciate it if you would do this because it needs to be done. And it's all good. That's why we have partners and we support each other, right? So Or if you have children, what can they help you with? Maybe it's a little bit of housework. Maybe, especially if you got the Norwags, it's safe for them, right? So give them a dusting mitt, send them around, send them around the house with the dusting mitt. They'll love that. Or Enviro cloth and window and doing some cleaning some windows with just water, and that way they're not into the chemicals and stuff. So, or how can they help you prep a meal? Is there something that, if they can reach, can they pull out the vegetables, even if maybe you're not handing them a knife necessarily, but can they pull things out for you to then do the prep? Or if they're older, could they use a knife and cut up some veggies? Or, what does that look like? Could they grate some cheese for you? Whatever that looks like, right? Um, it helps to bring togetherness. And I think sometimes we're raised to isolate ourselves and feel like we end up being the martyr and like we have to do all the things, and for what, right? It only puts more stress on us, and then we're not showing up as our best self for our families as well. So delegating, putting things off, just surrendering and saying maybe it can be done tomorrow. What was the other thing? The other thing is taking care of our human. And I've started using this term more lately as I've been doing my own kind of soul searching and seeing that in my experience, we're kind of like two parts. Just give me one sec. I just have to take a drink of water. In my belief system, we're a soul having a human experience. Our soul is this like pure light, this is where when you meet someone who's truly authentic and you feel that power of that radiates off them. That's the soul will lead with authenticity, and it wants to just like shine brighter and be more of itself. The human is what kind of clouds it, and we have all these survival mechanisms and pressure to fit in these survival patterns so that we don't die, even though the way that society is structured now is very different, but our evolution and the parts of our brain that still, I guess, serve the purpose of our earlier evolution don't know the difference. So we have to not fight against it, but work with it and come into an understanding. And two of the things that really will hinder being able to just like function from a place, I'm thinking of like the brain in this example. We want our prefrontal cortex online. That's like our reasoning, that's our problem solving, that's our yeah, like decision making, and just if we're operating and that's online, we're really thriving and we're functional. When we're not getting sleep, when we're not eating well, we're not moving our body, we're not drinking enough water, our prefrontal cortex, it's harder for it to kind of like drive the bus of our life. And especially if we're not getting enough sleep, that's when our survival mechanisms, that amygdala can fire up, and that's our emotional and fear center. So this is when we can get kind of short with the people we love that are around us and just become irritable, and we're not thinking straight. We can get brain fog and stuff. So the biggest point of this episode is to just invite you and give a gentle reminder to check in on yourself. How much sleep have you been getting? Can you tuck away for 20 minutes? Or do you have the opportunity? Can your partner, um, you know, hold the fort for a few minutes while you go have a quick cat nap? Sometimes that's not possible. So if you're like shaking your head and going, yeah, yeah, I wish. But truly, sometimes these things we feel like they're not possible until we kind of really take a step back and maybe ask and just say, you know what, like I really need. For me, it's like I had a nap this afternoon. I just wasn't feeling super great. I had a kind of a weird headache, and no, I have no obligations here, so obviously I can just go do that. But it's like I just need a few minutes and just to kind of refresh, and then we come back just stronger and clear-minded and better than ever, right? So if you're questioning that, just get curious, like, can you actually not, or could you possibly? Is there someone who could just kind of like watch things while you tuck away for a few minutes and just set an alarm, have a 20-30 minute nap, and then just come back and feel refreshed and continue on with your day and maybe feel better. When I'm, especially if I'm irritable, I just call it like I just need a timeout. I'll just go have a quick cat nap and I wake up feeling better. My brain has a little bit of rest and my energy level picks up. Be mindful of how much water you're drinking because dehydration has a big effect on cognitive abilities as well. And I have previous episodes on all these things, right? On sleep, on drinking water. There are different classes. So if you're interested in that, look on the previous episodes for more detail on those. But really, the bottom line is just make sure just get curious this time of year with how busy it is in the next few days. Be gentle on yourself. Give yourself grace. Maybe you didn't have a good night's sleep and you don't have a chance to have a nap, but give yourself grace and just like understand the circumstance of why you're feeling this way. And, is there anything? Can you take a few deep breaths? Sometimes some like really deep breaths increase oxygen to the brain and give you a little bit more. Like I know the Wim Hof method breathing, it will create more clarity. So if you have even a couple minutes to step away and just do some breath work or um, breath work either for boosting yourself cognitively and getting that boost of energy and that clear part some of that brain fog, or if you're feeling really activated, if your nervous system's activated and you're feeling stressed out, you're feeling kind of irritable and snapping at people around you, go take a few deep breaths, go to the bathroom, sit there or stand there, leaning on the vanity or whatever for a few minutes and just take some big deep breaths, full the top, full expansion of the lungs into the belly, massage those oh my gosh, organs. I'm like losing my own words. And then nice slow exhale. That brings your body back into more of that rest and digest. That also is a tool to kind of help you navigate the day in this season when it can be kind of can be activating with lots going on. We're on the move, we're not getting enough sleep, we're not eating the best because we're enjoying the holiday season, which I'm not discouraging that by any means, but how do we make sure that we're set up in other ways, right? And sometimes being around family we don't always see can add a layer of complexity to the scenario, right? So just ultimately a reminder and encouragement to check in with yourself. If you feel yourself starting to get tense or snapping, use that as a cue. Our emotions are communicators to us to show what we need. Um, we can choose to listen to them or not, right? But when we don't, it often doesn't serve us very well because then we end up in conflict or however that works, right? So, anywho, I'm gonna end this episode, but I just wanted to pop in and give a little bit of extra encouragement. If you're grieving, take time for yourself, be gentle on yourself, give yourself what you need as much as possible, and just one day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, if you need it. I'm sending you so much love. This time of year can be both so joyful and so difficult. So I just wanted to reiterate some of the things I've talked about in previous episodes. And if you hear it in a timely fashion and it helps you, then I've done my job, right? So take care, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays with whatever you celebrate, and safe travels, and wishing you lovely memories and time with your loved ones. And I'll have another episode before 2025, but if you listen to this later, wishing you a happy new year. In the new year on January 22nd, I will be hosting an intention setting workshop. I call it set your vibe for 2025. It's going to go deep into just non-hustle stuff. It is like the energetics underneath. It's the self-care. It's the things that we need to talk about and don't. If you are wanting, if you're feeling an urge to lean back and do things slower and more intentionally and just more healthfully for you, this is going to be the workshop for you. So I'll have more in the Living on Lemonade group that I'll be posting about. It's $33 Canadian. I'll be recording it, so there will be a replay sent out. There's a workbook that you can get started with beforehand if you sign up before then. So just send me a message wherever you reach me on socials, and we can get you set up for that. Obviously, you can sign up right now. It's not till the 22nd, but I'll be talking about it because it's going to be a really important training and time together. It is a live one. We'll be doing it on Zoom, so um, we'll get to interact a little bit, I think. And yeah, it's going to be a goodie. So I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.